I think they're making boxing a joke, really.
Yeah.
One day someone's going to end up getting hurt so badly then it's going to definitely destroy the sport.
It's a joke, you know. Yeah, it's a joke. It's going to be like Mike Tyson. It's going to be...
What are you doing? What don't you understand about this?
Best in doing his thing. I'm not saying it's a mismatch, but damn, box somebody your own size.
Dillon Danis is back at it, calling out Jake Paul while dismissing his fight with Gervonta Davis as nothing more than a joke. In addition, Jake Paul trolled Gervonta Tank Davis by ordering a cake shaped like a tank, then eating and smashing it to pieces. He punched through the cake to send a message that fighting Tank would be as easy as eating dessert, and that he plans to annihilate him in the ring. Meanwhile, Nate Diaz shared his thoughts on Gervonta Davis, offering praise for Tank but doubting his chances against Jake Paul. Diaz refused to take sides, emphasizing that he would never agree to fight someone much lighter than him. He added that if the matchup does happen, it's simply a fight that will play out as it goes.
I gotta ask you, Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis. Does Davis have a chance?
Gervonta is
So you got Jake Paul by knockout, or
no, I don't got anybody, but I don't think
he's just too small?
it just I don't want to beat up somebody that small. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying?
What do you think of the fight?
I don't want to lose to somebody that. There's no point in the fight. It's a great fight, actually.
You think
I'm
it's a
not
good
hating
fight?
on the fight, but I think my thoughts on it is let's watch and see what happens.
Ryan Garcia said that boxing's turning into WWE.
Yeah,
with that type of matchup. What do you agree? Last thing, why?
In contrast, Amir Khan voiced strong disapproval of the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, calling it a dangerous mismatch. Khan criticized the promoters for agreeing to the bout, arguing that Paul's challenging someone so much smaller is wrong and that stepping in the ring with the sole purpose of hurting an undersized opponent crosses a line. He further speculated that with everything Davis has been dealing with outside the ring, this fight might simply be his way to cash out before walking away from the sport.
It's a bad mismatch, and you know what? Whoever the promoter is and that's agreed Gervonta to fight, and whoever the promoter is to fight for Jake Paul to say fight this little man, I mean that's wrong, man. I mean that's just like torturing someone. Yeah, I mean going in there and hurting someone is just not fair on Davis. But like say you don't know what position Davis is in. I heard that he's been having a lot of legal problems and he's been arrested a couple of times for a couple of felonies and stuff. I've seen with his ex-wife and stuff. So you know what? You don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just wants to cash up and walk away from the sport. And maybe this is a great opportunity for him where he's seen this fight come up and he's take it.
Furthermore, Amir Khan didn't hold back, blasting both Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis for making a mockery of boxing. Khan warned that fights like this could end with someone getting badly hurt and ultimately damage the credibility of the sport.
But yeah, I mean, I think they're making boxing a joke, really.
Yeah.
One day someone's going to end up getting hurt so badly then it's going to definitely destroy the sport.
To reinforce his point, he contrasted the situation with the UFC, praising them for respecting weight classes and not allowing mismatches where a YouTuber could walk in and fight a top lightweight or featherweight.
Well, it's a big concern. It's a big concern. You know why? Because if you think about it this way, one thing you're not going to see in UFC that they're going to go and fight some YouTuber or a YouTuber's going to fight a UFC lightweight or like a featherweight, for example, or a bantamweight, whatever you want to call it. See, they respect that because there you can get hurt badly. Whereas with boxing, I think people are just making a joke of the sport. And yeah, I mean, if I was Davis's promoter, I would have said maybe go with the right, go with fighting the likes of like Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson's good. Ryan Garcia, you got Devin Haney as well. I mean, you got some good fighters there.
Echoing Amir's criticism, Dillon Danis dismissed Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis as nothing more than a gimmick. He called the matchup a joke and compared it to the exhibition between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, claiming it would look more like sparring than a real fight. Danis argued that the bout is designed not only to take money from fans and insisted he does not believe Jake and Gervonta will truly be fighting for real.
What do you make of Tank versus Gervonta versus
It's a joke.
Jake Paul?
It's a joke, you know. Yeah, it's a joke. It's gonna be like Mike Tyson. It's gonna be a sparring match, and after they're gonna just steal everybody's money. Same
You
thing.
gonna watch it?
No.
You mentioned
Paul versus Gervonta Davis.
That's a joke. You know, he's a 125 pounder. He wants to be world champion. It's the same they do with Mike Tyson. They're gonna have a light spar, and then at the end, they're just gonna be shake hands and whatever.
I'm torn because I love boxing. Well,
It's
I'm
just
a proper
ruining it,
boxing
isn't it?
nut. But it is. But like, if you were offered the money, you'd do it.
I mean,
Which is kind of
it's
why
like
I'm a little
40.
bit like, I can't slate them for not.
Yeah, he does what he does, but then do what KSI does and act like he wants to have fun fights. He's not trying to be world champion. Jake had the opportunity to fight the world champion in his weight class, Zapata or something. I don't forget his name. You're a boxing guy. Who's the guy in his weight? St. Carter, some Mexican guy. So it's a Sabita or something. He's like I don't know. He's a bigger guy, but he's a world champion in his weight class, and it was offered the fight, and he turned it down.
Ramirez.
Is it Ramirez?
Adding to the criticism, Robert Garcia weighed in on Gervonta Davis's decision to fight Jake Paul, drawing a sharp comparison to Floyd Mayweather. Garcia explained that Mayweather only began taking on MMA fighters and YouTubers after he had already established a legendary career in boxing. In his view, Tank Davis has not accomplished anything that can be cemented as truly great. Garcia pointed out that Davis never unified titles, never sought out the toughest challenges, and avoided fights that could have defined his legacy.
I'll do the same. You know, I'm not saying that. You have a lot of big names here. But with, like Mayweather started doing that with MMA fighters and shit like that because he already accomplished so much. Tank hasn't, bro. Tank never fought, never unified, never took challenges. Never challenged the best fighter.
30-0, 28 knockouts.
He never had that challenge to fight the next fight. You know, Paulie, ask Paulie about him, man. Paulie will tell you the same shit. Fucking Tank is a
You can ask me. Ask me. I'll tell you how I feel.
I fucking enjoy watching his fights. But he never took challenges, man. He never did. But this one, fuck.
You
Good
have
for him,
to do
man.
it.
Exactly. Good for him, man.
Get paid.
For that reason, he stated that he does not really blame Tank for taking on such a fight, but he states that he should have picked fights that could have cemented his legacy as a pound-for-pound great.
The life changes once you retire, so make the most money you can.
Yeah, I don't blame him. But if you're in boxing, if you're in the fight business, take those challenges, man. Prove, they want to be the best in the division. Don't avoid Lomachenko. Don't avoid.
He would have beaten Loma.
Then he should have fought him.
He was with Top Rank. Top Rank wasn't doing business with PPC. Top Rank wasn't doing business. Top Rank was only doing business with Top Rank.
That's the way to always do those fights. If it makes sense, that's the way to
Oh,
always
it
do
has to make money. Tank makes a lot of money.
He's done great. And he's a badass. He could be pound for pound one of the best in the world, but he's not because he never took the chance.
He's the #1 fighter.
On a similar note, Michael Bisping highlighted that staggering size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, noting that the two are separated by as much as 92 pounds. He stressed that the weight gap is simply too much, adding that even if Jake comes in at 200 pounds, he would still carry a 65-pound advantage over Danis.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference. Almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude.
Beyond size, Bisping questioned Jake Paul's approach to boxing, criticizing him for chasing what he called gimmick fights. Bisping argued that if Jake truly wants appreciation and recognition as a legitimate boxer, he needs to stop targeting undersized opponents and start taking on real challenges. He stated that Paul must face someone who can truly test him in the ring if he wants to be taken seriously in the sport.
That it's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word: whoa, 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 stop being such a bully, leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous when you look at the tail of the tape.
Interestingly, Teddy Atlas questioned what would happen if Gervonta Davis landed a clean shot on Jake Paul's chin, noting that Jake isn't a professional fighter. He said that scenario is what really sells the fight, but admitted the size difference creates a major problem. Atlas stressed that the optics make it difficult since the matchup involves two fighters from completely different weight classes.
Tank Davis, who can punch, who is a hell of a fighter, who is the top 10 pound-for-pound fighter. What if he lands a punch on this bigger guy's chin, right, who's not a professional fighter? What happens? What happens? That's what would sell it. I know the size difference is what creates the problem. The optics, the look, the reality. I mean, you got one guy who's fights at 135 pounds, and you got another guy who fights at 200. I mean, just that alone, yeah. But you also, and I'm not saying I want this or I like this when I heard it. No, I didn't like it.
Adding to that, Paulie Malignaggi weighed in on the matchup, stressing that Gervonta Davis has far more to lose than Jake Paul because he's a bona fide world champion. Malignaggi said the size difference does not erase that reality, while noting that Paul is plateaued in terms of boxing development, but still carries major physical advantages.
I think Davis has more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen.
He added that despite the weight gap, Davis has the kind of punching power that can allow a lightweight to drop a heavyweight. However, he stated that if Gervonta loses, that is a very bad look for the world champ.
There's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks...
The answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion, multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So,
echoing Robert Garcia's point, Paulie Malignaggi said he would not have an issue with the Jake Paul fight if Gervonta Davis had built a career that truly benefited boxing. Instead, Malignaggi argued Davis was a manufactured product who was supposed to elevate the sport, but ended up doing the opposite.
So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned, mind you?
Moreover, Amir Khan pointed out that Gervonta Davis's own division in boxing is stacked with talent and big-name opponents he could have faced. Khan argued that instead of testing himself against elite in his weight class, Davis chose Jake Paul purely for the massive payday. According to Khan, that is the only reason fighters are lining up to face Paul. It is about the money, not the legacy.
Shakur Stevenson's good. Ryan Garcia. You got Devin Haney as well. I mean, you got some good fighters there. that whole division is stacked with some big names. Oh look, end of the day, it seems to me that it's just a cash out fight for him. I mean, I never want that, because if that ever happened to me, I'd be upset. But it never happened to me. But yeah, I don't think that should really happen, because at least then he knows where he wants to be, and if it's an exhibition, yeah, you can't really strip him for his world title, because it's not really a proper fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
In that sense, like he's not have to make weight or nothing, so they can't really strip him for that.
Reiterating the physical differences, Michael Bisping stated that even though Gervonta Davis is a highly skilled boxer, the physical advantages Jake Paul has are simply too much. He explained that as the naturally heavier fighter, Jake Paul hits harder, making the matchup difficult to justify. Bisping added that the fight happening does not even make sense, though he acknowledged that the ratings will be massive and a lot of people will be tuning in.
For Gervonta Davis, great fighter, world champion, experienced boxer, great wins over people like Ryan Garcia, okay? Fantastic, tremendous skill, but Jake Paul's bigger and he hits way harder. I just don't understand why this fight is happening. I get it, a lot of people are going to tune in. A lot of people are going to tune in for the spectacle. They're going to see if David versus Goliath can really happen, because this fight is David versus Goliath, not Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. That would have been someone that's a bit smaller taking on Anthony Joshua. This is David versus Goliath. This, as Khabib would say,
this is #1 bullshit.
I'm telling you right now, this is embarrassing. What are you doing? I always said.
Adding to that, Tony Ferguson stated that Jake Paul is making all the noise, and whether it is good or bad, it will still draw numbers. He added that if the fight does happen, it will present an interesting David versus Goliath scenario.
For good publicity, bad publicity, as long as it's publicity, people are going to watch and hate or whatever, it's going to go and it's going to draw numbers. I mean, shit. I mean, if you get the fight going and it does happen, I mean, props to everybody. It's going to be interesting, David versus Goliath. So, I mean, you have Gervonta, who's got a lot of experience. I don't watch him too much. And you got Jake, who's an influencer that's going out there and had learned the sport of boxing, is training with some of the best and doing his thing. I'm not saying it's a mismatch, but damn, box somebody your own size.
However, social media personality Adam Ross voiced his support for Jake Paul, saying he is siding with him to secure the victory. While Ross praised Gervonta Davis and acknowledged him as a true boxing star, he emphasized that all eyes will be on this matchup. He also gave Jake credit for constantly coming up with wild, attention-grabbing ideas that keep fans tuning in. He stated that Jake Paul has a huge hand in reviving the sport.
Right there. I think Jake Paul wins that fight. You're way, look, obviously Gervonta Davis has way more experience. He's a hell of a fighter. He's done so much more for boxing and than a lot of people. But to say that, that's not, everyone's going to want to watch that fight. I think it's a genius idea. I think Jake Paul sets the craziest expectations, and I think he sets the bar so high now in the boxing world. Jake Paul revived boxing. People could say what they want to say about it, but Jake Paul really revived the sport of boxing. Joe Rogan once said previously, not so long ago, but he did speak about how boxing would eventually die out and all the eyes would shift to MMA. And it's true. I sit there, I'll watch UFC whenever there's an amazing pay-per-view event.
And building on that, Michael Bisping stated that Jake Paul gains attention because he's a huge star and knows how to create big spectacles.
But he was going out there taking on non-boxers. And he was going out there taking on Mike Tyson, that's pushing 60 years old, for crying out loud. But at the same time, pretending to be like this badass motherfucker, sending me DMs talking. He offered me a contract a long time ago. And I was like, what are you doing? I'm a retired fighter and I've got one eye. Why would I want to fight you? I wouldn't lower myself to doing that. And a lot of people do that. They do lower themselves, if you want to say that, because of the payday, because Jake Paul is a big name. He is a social media sensation. He's a YouTube star. And now, of course, in the world of boxing, he's one of boxing's biggest stars because he puts on these spectacles like Paul versus Tyson, like Nate Diaz. Jake Paul is the B-side to almost every single one of his fights. When he fought Nate Diaz, people were tuning in for Nate Diaz. His last fight, against Cesar Chavez Jr., apparently no one watched that fight. Apparently the pay-per-views were ridiculously low. So this one's going back to Netflix on November 14th, and it's an exhibition bout. Of course, it's an exhibition bout because no athletic commission in their right mind will sanction this fight. There's just no way you can make this a legitimate fight because of the size advantage. Typically, this would be very, very dangerous, and someone could get really hurt. If Jake Paul was to swing as hard as he could and connect and
in the end, the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight has everyone divided. Some see it as a dangerous joke, others as pure entertainment. Love it or hate it, all eyes will be on the ring when it happens. But now we'd like to hear from you. Let us know what you think of this matchup in the comment section down below, and we shall see you in the next video with more exciting updates. In the meantime, hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Also, hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat.